Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Mika Lavik-Manti. I'm a professor of political science and director of the LSA Honors Program. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this event, which is one of the first of 3 days of celebrating our graduates. We begin by acknowledging that the University of Michigan, named for Michigami, the world's largest freshwater system and located in the Huron River watershed, was formed and grown through connections with the land stewarded by the Nishui, Ishkadawan, Anishinabek, the Three Fires people who are the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi, along with their neighbors, the Seneca, Delaware, Shawnee, and Wyandot nations. These lands continue to be the homeland of many indigenous people, and through these words of acknowledgement, we seek to reaffirm and respect their contemporary and ancestral ties to the land and to recognize their contributions to the university. Let's also acknowledge how extraordinary, by which I mean extraordinarily hard, these last 4 years have been. Most of you started college in fall 2020, which means most of you had missed your high school graduations earlier that year. That's why we hope this ceremony and all the others these few days are going to be extra special to make up for that missed opportunity. You've been through a lot, and here you are. It's amazing. This event is about celebrating you and about recognizing with your families and friends your extraordinary achievements. You started college with the worst of the pandemic. These days, there are many other sources of stress, anxiety, and even anger. Different perspectives, even vehement disagreements, are some of the things that create academic progress by allowing us to learn and grow. Here, I ask that we all respect our speakers, our guests, and most importantly, you, our graduates, by respecting the ceremony. In case it's not obvious, in this event, we celebrate graduating honors students across the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts. Honors is all about academic excellence. College involves lots of things: becoming an adult, having meaningful experiences, having all kinds of fun, some of which we don't even want to know about. That's great, but academic endeavors are what anchor it all. Honors in LSA can mean a couple of different things. You can begin your college in the honors program. You take rigorous set of introductory and distribution courses, either going beyond the basic requirements or by taking courses specifically designed for the intellectually ambitious. If you do really well in those courses and maintain an overall high GPA, you earn a sophomore honors award. Some of the students we recognize today were the recipients of that award about 2 years ago. You might have forgotten, but we didn't. Welcome and congratulations. Even if you didn't start in the honors program, you can be an honors student in your major. In most cases, that means writing an honors thesis, a work of original scholarship that is completed usually during the senior year. A successful completion of the thesis means you graduate with honors. In some majors, and by some, I mean mathematics and statistics, you can graduate with honors by taking an incredibly rigorous set of courses instead of writing a thesis. A lot of you are here because you've done one of those things, thesis or math. Welcome and congratulations. Finally, you may graduate by earning honors in engaged liberal arts, by integrating rigorous coursework with an independent leadership or civic engagement project. Several of you are HELA graduates. Welcome and congratulations. Some of these students have been with us for 4 years and have earned both the Sophomore Honors Award and are graduating with honors. We also recognize graduating seniors who have otherwise served honors ideals, especially the honors resident advisors who have been crucial in building our community in South Quad and beyond, and the academic peer advisors who make our first-year orientation so successful. Welcome, congratulations, and thank you. All of these students are successful because of the support they've gotten along the way. We know from reading thesis acknowledgement and talking to students over the years how crucial family and friends have been. We are so glad you are here with us. Welcome. Graduates, I hope you agree that we should thank your families and friends for their support. I also want to acknowledge my colleagues from the honors program. The students know why I should. They too have helped you get here. They will help today as well. Their names are listed in the program. They are once again doing all the heavy lifting. Directing the honors program is the best job I've ever had, and it's because of the students and the staff I get to work with daily. Thank you, colleagues. We've acknowledged valuable people, but as I said, what this event and the events over the next few days is all about is your accomplishments. We wanted to share some words of wisdom to put them in a context, but I'm not the person to do that job. So we asked a friend who was in your shoes some years ago and can now reflect back on his life in college and beyond. Nick Butt graduated from the LSA Honors Program with high distinction, double majoring in mathematics and computer science. He spent 18 years at Apple, 10 of those in the executive ranks. His responsibilities included Aperture, iPhoto, Compressor, as well as several other engineering teams. After leaving Apple as Senior Director of Engineering, he founded Gentleman Coders in 2016, a software company specializing in photo editing apps for iOS and Mac. Nick holds over 55 patents in a wide range of disciplines, including image processing, audio processing, geotagging, wireless networking, and user interface design. For the last several years, Nick has been a member of the Honors Alumni Council and active supporter of our current students. He's also a parent of 2 college students, so he knows all about the joys and stresses you parents have had. Nick, please share your thoughts.
I'd like to start by congratulating you, honors graduates. You've taken challenging and unique courses. You've conducted original research and written and defended a thesis, or completed something equally demanding. You are members of a thriving community of scholars with whom you debated your opinions and shared your feelings. Your achievements are impressive, valuable, and meaningful, and the best is yet to come. To talk about your futures, I'd like to first discuss the past. Mika was kind enough not to say what year I graduated. But because we're all friends here, I will tell you that I graduated in 1987. I heard that. Back then, we didn't have Wi-Fi or even websites. We didn't have iPads either. Don't get me wrong, we had tablets, but they were stone tablets. I graduated from honors with a double major in computer science and math, but I didn't start that way. If astrophysics could be a hobby, it was mine. Scientific American was my favorite magazine. I could rattle off the distances and magnitudes of stars. It will shock you to learn that I was a bit of a nerd in high school. So I arrived my freshman year in honors, excited to study literature, astrophysics, and the arts. With the increased presence of technology in our lives and annoying technology people, it feels that the liberal arts have receded into the background. If so, that would be a shame. A liberal arts education teaches us the importance of history and how not to repeat it, about different cultures and the traditions that drive them, how to communicate, and how to think critically. In an LSA, you interact with a group of people who are different from you and who have different interests and points of view. Here are some of the classes I took in honors. Great Books of the Far East. Analogy, Essence, and Elegance, taught by Douglas R. Hofstadter, who wrote Gödel Escherbach. Neural Models and Psychological Processes. Anthropology, Culture, Thought, and Meaning. I'm pleased that some of these classes are still offered here. They made me a better person, more intuitive and empathetic. They improved my writing and my critical thinking skills. They helped me get my first job. I took a bunch of astronomy and physics freshman year. This is what I found out. First, I didn't enjoy the classes or the labs. Studying astrophysics was not what I imagined, and I didn't relish the prospect of more classes. Second, I'm not that good at it. I got A's, but I didn't have the gift the knack, that quality that the great ones have. The only part of a Nobel Prize I would ever get was the no part. As in, no way. I would never achieve the success that I imagined. I would never make a difference. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Now what? My other hobby was computers. Nerd. So I switched to computer science. I was starting a year late, and I wanted to graduate on time. To catch up, I doubled up on my course load, and I did other crazy things like convince my advisor to let me skip the first computer science Weeder class because I quote, "I will learn it over the summer." You will be equally shocked to find out I did not learn it over the summer. So I got a 35% on my first lab and a 50% on the midterm. But I was a quick study. I ended the class on a high note. More importantly, the coursework was interesting, and the progress I made showed I was good at it. I didn't realize it then, but in those two experiences, I stumbled upon the answer to a question we all face. What should I do with my life? Find something you love that you're good at. Not just one or the other, both. For example, don't be an artist if your best work is still on your parents' refrigerator. A career in art will probably be a disappointing one, even if you love to create art. If you hate being around sick people, don't be a doctor, even if you aced organic chemistry. Instead, make art for the joy of it. Instead of med school, become a great researcher, or in my case, a backyard astronomer. Our daughter had difficulty finding something she loves and is good at. She's always been interested in the physical sciences, but none in particular. On each college application, she wrote down a different major. She's at Berkeley in the liberal arts college. She took classes in different subjects, hoping one would stand out. At one point, after taking chemistry, she decided to major in it. Then she found out to her chagrin, and I quote, "Every class has the word chemistry in it." So she was somewhat adrift. I had told her the whole something you love that you're good at thing, but it didn't stick. So I tried a different tack. On the drive back from Berkeley one day, I asked her two questions. First, what subject is easy for you? There will always be difficult concepts, but in what subject are the concepts easier to grasp, where you don't have to work as hard? Despite her interest in science, she picked math. Then I asked her, think about a project you got a rush from, one you wanted to work on even after you turned it in. She said in high school, I wrote some Visual Basic in Excel to analyze data. That was cool. I see. So a field that involves math and programming. Math and if only there was a field like that. In her case, though, I recommended data science because it's inherently interdisciplinary, and she finds so many topics interesting. She's now majoring in data science with a specialization in physical science. She's got some catching up to do, but she loves it and she's doing great, so it's going to work out just fine. In other words, find things that come easily and that you enjoy. Keep this in mind, whether you're looking for a job or considering an advanced degree. Think deeply, honestly consider your strengths and interests. This is your life. Make the most of it. Also, while money is important, don't pick a field just for the money. You'll be miserable and not as successful as you might expect. When you're great at something that you love, your enthusiasm and talent will naturally bring success, happiness, and yes, money. My dream job was to work at Apple in the Mac operating system. One day, I was walking through the EECS building here on campus, and I stumbled upon the exact moment when Apple was visiting campus. I could not believe my good fortune. I met the recruiter, and I interviewed for a summer job before starting graduate school at Michigan. I had a full ride scholarship. To my shock, Apple offered me a full-time job, not a summer job. They wanted to hire me not just for my experience developing software, but for my broad-based education at Michigan. But taking the Apple offer meant walking away from graduate school and that scholarship. Remarkably, the Apple job was in the Mac operating system, so my dream job could be my first job. Even better, they said I could take graduate classes remotely at Stanford while I worked. It was an offer I couldn't refuse. But here's the rub. Apple left something out. While the Stanford program did exist, it was not encouraged. After I made it through my 12-hour day, I was welcome to take my remaining brain cells and squint at a TV mounted high in a small conference room. Life lesson. Job offers are not always what they're made out to be. And no, I never took a class at Stanford. I wanted to work at Apple to change the world, to create products that touch people and improve their lives. That may sound corny, but it's also the truth. Steve Jobs spoke about that shortly before his death. He said, "It is in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yield us the results that make our hearts sing." There it is, liberal arts and technology. The combination makes great products and indeed touches people's lives. And makes a tidy profit, if we're being completely honest. I'm very proud of the teams I've built and managed. I've always focused on strong, supportive cultures with great personal fits. To do that, I've interviewed hundreds of people. In those interviews, people also ask me questions. The question I'm asked the most is, what is your ideal candidate? People get that one from job websites. They expect to hear an alphabet soup of technologies, so they're surprised by my answer. I really don't care if you know Java or AWS or C++ or whatever. Everyone who knows those things had to learn them at some point. We do not emerge from the womb writing HTML. I'm hiring people, not acronyms. Instead, I look for three things. One, the natural ability to write software. Two, drive. Do you do this for fun? Are you always trying to learn new things? And personality. Are you nice? Do you have positive energy and work well with others? Do you focus on team success rather than office politics and personal achievements? Talent, drive, personality. These are things you are born with, not things you learn. People with drive and passion will learn whatever they need. If they have talent, they will learn it quickly and apply it well. Positive, engaging people will support each other and form dynamic teams. I don't hire prima donnas. Despite their talent, in the long run, they subtract more than they add. It turns out there is no shortage of amazing, helpful people who are a joy to be around. So in the interview, I'm trying to figure out to what extent they have those three innate characteristics. Basically, I'm looking for nice people who are great at something they love. It's not what you know. It's not who you know. It's who you are. With that, honors graduates, embrace all that you've learned and experienced here in Honors at Michigan. The tough times, the fun times, the challenges, and the successes. You will carry all of it with you forever. And your liberal arts education will pay dividends again and again. Your experiences here may have already helped connect your strengths with your interests. If you're honest about them, your path will become clear and success will follow. Seek out other talented, passionate, and yes, nice, helpful people. Together, you can achieve anything. Now, go forth and go blue.
Thank you, Nick. Each of you has had a unique path through college, and it would be wonderful to hear from everyone. But we'd still be here in June. So instead, we invited 3 of you to share their thoughts to represent the honors class of 2024. Our first student speaker is Tess Kliges. Tess is graduating with a degree in classical civilizations and a minor in law, justice, and social change. Her honors thesis was called Words as Weapons, Political Rhetoric as Violence in the Roman Republic and the Modern United States. It analyzed violent rhetoric in Cicero's work and compared it to modern American parallels to better understand the effect violent rhetoric has on civil disagreement. During her time at Michigan, Tess competed with the Michigan mock trial team and served as the vice president of risk management for Pi Beta Phi sorority. Tess has had many internships in law policy and technology. Currently, she's working for Governor Gretchen Whitmer as a communications and speech writing intern. After graduation, Tess will spend a gap year before law school traveling the country on behalf of Pi Beta Phi as a leadership development consultant. Tess, I invite you to address your peers.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Mika, for the kind introduction. First of all, I need to apologize to my mom because I totally did not tell her I was doing this. Now you know why I was so stressed about you being here on time. In all seriousness, I'm extremely grateful for my mom and the ways she's encouraged me throughout my life. She always told my sister and I that she didn't care what we wanted to do or what we wanted to be, just as long as we were doing something. When I got to the University of Michigan, I didn't yet know what that something was. I was the definition of an undecided student. I knew I liked history and was kind of interested in going to law school one day, but other than that, I really had no clue. So I took an odd array of classes in my first semester. Creative writing class, voice lessons through SMTD, even intro to ballet, and because of the pandemic, all of this was online. It was not easy trying to learn the basics of a pas de deux from my dorm room. I did have one class that was in person, though, Honors 135. Honors 135 is a mini course taught by seniors each year that centers around their thesis topics. My instructor's name was Megan, and she was writing 2 honors theses, one for English and one for film. She was teaching us, a group of 12 fresh first years, about podcast writing and production. I was in awe of Megan. She led the class so effortlessly and seemed to have infinite knowledge. She was so confident in her research and her accomplishments and her future. She talked about her time at Michigan and in the honors program with such love. She had figured out her something. 3 years later, I found myself back in that same classroom with a group of 12 fresh first years, except this time I was at the front of the room, teaching an Honors 135 class about my research. My class was about Cicero, ancient legal arguments, and how to write a compelling speech. I had slideshows full of Latin translations and court transcripts ready to teach, but I won't lie. When I stood up in front of my class for the first time, I still felt like I knew nothing. I still felt like my first year self. Then my students began to ask me questions, and the craziest thing happened. I knew the answers. Suddenly, it was like the last 4 years of my life were on rewind. As I moved through my lesson plans, they became like a scrapbook of my 4 years at Michigan. I got to tell them about doing one-on-one Latin translations with faculty at Oxford University while studying abroad. I shared with them my favorite classes and professors and how to actually complete an honors conversion. I brought in some of my friends from the mock trial team to showcase the work that we do. And I even told them about when Mika made fun of me for liking musical theater on my very first day in the honors program, before I was even on campus, something he still brings up 4 years later. Most importantly, though, for the first time, Honors 135 let me verbalize the research I had spent nearly 2 years on. I got to dive into the intersection of ancient history and modern law with my students. I shared all my hard work and taught them how to write speeches of their own. And I realized that all my undecided nothings had turned into so many incredible somethings. Teaching Honors 135 showed me just how much I had managed to fit in my 4 years here. And 4 years from now, I know that my students will have filled their Michigan stories in all sorts of amazing and unique ways. At the end of one of my classes, one of my students came up to me and told me that next semester she was taking a course with a professor that I recommended. Another one of my students told me that he can't wait to try out for mock trial in the fall. And all of my students are hoping to write theses of their own one day. I can't wait to see what their somethings become. And I'm grateful to have played a small role in their Michigan stories, the same role that Megan played for me in my first year. The last time I gave a commencement speech was 4 years ago under very different circumstances. Because of the pandemic, my high school pre-recorded our ceremony, so I gave my speech to a nearly empty room. Today, after 4 years of growing, learning, and giving, 4 years of new friends, new passions, and new somethings, and in an auditorium filled with my smart, talented, and resilient peers, I'm so honored to wish you all congratulations and go blue.
Thank you for those thoughts, Tess. I was thinking of saying something about musical theater, but maybe I'll finally let it go. Our next speaker is also a theater person, so I'm outnumbered. Our next speaker is Changchi Yu. Changchi is graduating with honors in economics and data science. That means she has written 2 honors theses. Her econ thesis is titled Dynamic Allocation of Indivisible Goods in Multi-Staged Games. Her data science thesis is Mining Large-Scale Historic User Data for Future Purchase Prediction. Don't ask me to explain either of them. She also has a minor in complex systems, and she has done additional research in ecology. Her research interests are connected by environmental concerns, efficiency, and fairness in resource allocation. They are going to be braided together in her PhD work in operations management after graduation. Didn't I say that she's a theater person? I did. Changchi has performed and has been involved in dozens of shows in multiple languages and has created immersive theater experiences on campus and elsewhere. Changchi, I invite you to share your thoughts.
There is an ancient Chinese saying, 学如逆水行舟，不进则退. Learning is like sailing against the current of a river. If you stop moving forward, you fall behind. I've held this saying close to heart because I dream one day pushing the frontier of interdisciplinary methods on data science and game theory to bring structural changes for a more sustainable future. During my 4 years at the University of Michigan, I carefully designed my curriculum that constitutes majors of data science, economics, and a minor in complex systems. Joy bursts out of me as I found the interdisciplinary knowledge interweaves into an intricate sail. Just like a little boat, slowly but firmly, I sail upstream toward my goal. As I became more academically mature, I soon realized the limitation of that Chinese saying. It assumes there is a goal that exists somewhere upstream. I was introduced to the topic of my econ honors thesis in a class. I wasn't aware how ambitious it was at first. Unfortunately, it soon turned out to be exceptionally hard. I became significantly disheartened. I spent an incredibly long time trying to develop the topic, but it was still fruitless. Feeling like a boat on a turbulent sea without direction, I almost gave up. In dismay, I became curious about how others set sail. My econ honors thesis advisor was like an experienced captain with extraordinary sailing techniques. He guided me in reconstructing complications in my proposed algorithm into clear yet sophisticated designs. On the other hand, my data science honors thesis advisor was more like an explorer who encouraged me to use my best judgment to bravely investigate the unknown. Under his guidance, I've become proficient in experimenting with multiple methods for obtaining the best solution for one specific problem. Doing research is exactly like cruising unknown waters when no one knows the end destination. Both of my inspiring advisors encouraged me to try, to fail, and to stand up again. They taught me the skills to navigate and gave me the courage to keep going, They've handed me the compass. I know how to confidently navigate the unknown. Such spirit also overflows to the other aspects of my undergraduate life, especially in theater, an indispensable part of my undergraduate journey. Not knowing what to expect from the audience, our theater group, Immersive Life, became the first to present immersive shows in Ann Arbor and the first student-led immersive theater group in the US. Being the first means constantly facing decisions without knowing the consequences, managing the cast, the budget, artistic choices, surviving market entrants, and competing with existing theater groups. We had to sort out our directions on our own. Just like my advisors, I have also strived to pass on the compass to the younger members of Immersive Life. What I am particularly proud of, the younger members of Immersive Life put on the show The Pillowman 2 weeks ago, and it was a great success. I recently came across one of my favorite Chinese poems, and I feel it would be a great conclusion to my speech today and my undergraduate life. It starts with, 长风破浪会有时, a time will come to ride the wind and cleave the waves. Now, I am about to set sail to the new chapter of my life. When difficult times come, I will never forget what I have learned from my advisors. Let us never lose faith in painful moments and always have the courage to face the challenges head on. The last 2 lines of the poem are both for me and for all of you. It says, 直挂云帆济沧海, I'll set my cloud-white sail and cross the sea which raves. If you hear the callings of your dreams, don't hesitate. All you need to do is to sail toward it. I wish you all to live your life to the fullest and enjoy the grand sights you've always longed for. Thank you and congratulations, class of 2024.
Thank you for your thoughtful remarks, Changji. Our final speaker is Carlos Castillo. Carlos is graduating with history honors. We'll let him say more about his remarkable thesis in a moment. But I want to say a few words about him. Carlos finished his undergraduate studies at Michigan while teaching as an Army ROTC instructor. He's a master sergeant in the US Army. In his time in the military, he has been deployed in Iraq, Afghanistan, and NATO operations in Europe. His hobbies include road traveling with his 2 dogs, Brunson and Bubba. His favorite memories at Michigan were the football games and the Eisenberg history lectures. After graduation, he's moving to South Carolina to be a company first sergeant and to start his master's degree in public administration. Carlos, please share your thoughts.
I'm honored to be here today and greatly appreciate the kind invitation from the Honors Program, who have been so welcoming during my time as a student at Michigan. I also want to take a moment to congratulate all my fellow graduates who have earned honors degrees and awards at the University of Michigan. I also want to briefly thank all the scholars who have helped me navigate my path as a student. Without the mentorship and support from Dr. Suni, Dr. Moyer, Dr. Mills, Dr. Garcia, Professor Calixto, I would not be the graduate I am standing before you today. Lastly, a special thanks to the History Department and the Sweetland Writing Center for mentoring me through my journey as a writer. For the longest time, I thought experience translated to critical thinking, but I soon discovered while teaching ROTC classes as an Army instructor at Michigan that the students here are unique and academically sharp. Those very students I taught in Army classes inspired me to apply to Michigan 4 years ago. I had doubts about this journey, and even before I applied because my path was slightly unorthodox. I'm a 16-year Army veteran who spent many years overseas in places like Europe, deployed to the peripheries of the U.S. military as an infantryman. I thought I had already gained a rich perspective of the world through my military experience abroad, a total of 9 years overseas. Never could I have been so wrong. One thing I learned from my time in Afghanistan was the art of gift giving, a practice that instills humility in both giver and receiver. Gift giving taught me how to build community in spaces, new spaces with new people. Upon arriving in Michigan, I noticed a plethora of gift-giving between students and faculty, which I like to call academic gold. This academic gold is the reason I and my fellow graduates are gathered here today. As a transfer student who came to Michigan after a profound career of military service, I soon discovered that I had a knowledge gap that could only be filled by the academics who taught the classes I was enrolled in. Those scholars helped me break my personal barriers and approach issues with more nuances. Moreover, as I began fine-tuning my critical thinking skills within my first 2 years, I became confident enough to take on more academic challenges in my junior and senior years. I quickly went from a first-year student who struggled to write a single paragraph to a senior who took a chance at writing a 104-page honors thesis. My honors thesis titled Pashtunwali, a revitalization of Afghan tribalism and its place with modernity. It was a 2-year research project on the largest ethnic group in Afghanistan. I interviewed Afghan, Pakistani, and American academics, even injected my own experiences into my research. Through this collaborative approach, I researched how tribalism intersects with modernity by adapting my own unique historical interpretation. Looking at it now, I fuse my experiences from when I was interacting with Afghan locals and the academic gold given to me by my mentors at Michigan into a compelling thesis. This defines my experience at Michigan as a rising academic. This is a person I wanted to grow into after years of being overseas. I know I'm not the only one here who is grateful for this exceptional community which has shaped me into a graduate. There are countless professors, lecturers, graduate student advisors, peer advisors, and honor students who bring academic gold to this wonderful learning community. I genuinely believe that it's because of this gift given of academic gold that all rising graduates in all disciplines can positively impact the world and those around them. In addition, the Michigan experience gave me the courage to apply to Cornell's Master's in Brooks Public Policy program, something that was never part of my goal until my academic mentors encouraged me to apply. Since my acceptance, I cannot thank the Michigan community enough for helping me break intellectual barriers as I continue my higher education. I and many other graduates like me have found an affinity for helping those in need around the world. But to bring about change, one needs to gain the intellectual skills to incorporate and apply within an organization bigger than themselves. This is not only imperative, but it is necessary. Because of my Michigan experience, I am closer to my life goal of working within a wonderful organization like UNICEF following my military service. By applying the academic goal that I obtained while at Michigan, I seek to help others in the same manner that the faculty and student body has helped me. To close this off, the Michigan community has mentored me to think critically, engage in academic discourse, and take a chance to solve real-world challenges. Each one of us has outlined our own goals, and I think Michigan paved the way for us to navigate past our own potential. These elements have impacted me tremendously, and it's the academic gold that I will never forget. Thank you all for your mentorship. Leaders and best, go blue.
Thank you for your words and for your service, Carlos. We now recognize each graduating honor students individually. I asked the students to follow my colleague, Dr. Denise Guillot, who will lead you onto the stage to be greeted while Dr. Lisa Broom announces your name. Dr. Guillot will then lead you across the stage and down the other side. You will then return to your seat. We ask the guests please to stay in your seats and not come to the stage or the aisles. There'll be excellent opportunities for photos later. We will start one row at a time. Academic advisor Julie Nelson will be on the floor and release the rows as we go.
Tess Kligas, Classical Civilization, Sophomore Honors Award with distinction. Zongji Yu, Data Science and Economics. Carlos Castillo, History. Yuan Fang, Classical Civilization. Isabella Blanton, Classical Archaeology and History. Nina Nafziger, International Studies. Dora Ustan, International Studies. Sophia Grant, International Studies. Sira Tian, Economics. Joy Tong, Economics. Anna V, Ecology, Evolution, and Biodiversity. Evelyn Faust, Microbiology. Aishwarya Ramaswamy, Neuroscience. Thomas Chen, Microbiology. Dhruv Kolshrestha, Mathematics. Amanda Webster, Psychology. Jordan Hunter, Sociology. Adam Ernst, Mathematics, Sophomore Honors Award with distinction. Dana Steiner, Judaic Studies. Megan Young, Sociology. Olivia Birding, Sociology. Anna Nachhizel, Creative Writing, Literature, and English. Sydney Marks, Sociology. Megan Hill, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Eleanor Mancina, Economics. Tiffany Cruz, Philosophy. Hal Berdichevsky, History. Robert Bacall, Sophomore Honors Award. Sarah Hurwitz, Sophomore Honors Award with distinction. Julia Cater, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Sophia Macaulay, Psychology. Helen Devine, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Erna Chu, Psychology. Jane Stevenson, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Bailey Redler, Cognitive Science. Ethan Hazelton, Physics. Shenbin Yan, Physics. Sam Marchuk, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Jessica Reinick, Neuroscience. Julia Reinick, History. Nicholas DeBeja, Ecology, Evolution, and Biodiversity. Maxwell Klein, Interdisciplinary Astronomy. Yu Shi, Economics. Ziheng Zhu, Economics. Jiayi Zhu, Data Science. Johnhao Zhou, Mathematics and Statistics. Shamina Shazad, Neuroscience. Crystal Kao, Neuroscience. Jacqueline Lee, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Hannah White, Neuroscience. Nicole Gibord, Microbiology. Yuki Kanazawa, Neuroscience. Ria Agarwal, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Lila Shandell, Political Science. Ava Zalek, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Chloe Saba, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Charlotte Goldstein, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Hannah Adab, Political Science. Sabrina Bramson, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Rihanna Gold, Psychology. Yosef Sayans, Mathematics. Chelsea Gray, Creative Writing, Literature. Andrew Cario, Biology. Yutung Lee, Biochemistry. Jacob Hume, Mathematics. Shaolin Rong, Physics, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Lita Bryan, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Jaya Sada, Neuroscience. Lucy Malkoun, Philosophy. Vidhi Pandya, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Tolu Fashina, Biochemistry. Julianne Thomas, Biochemistry. Rohit Ray, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology, Honors Resident Advisor. Chimere Amanze, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction, Honors Resident Advisor. Caroline O'Sullivan, Honors Resident Advisor. Lillian Schreiner, Gender and Health. Catherine Gray, Arts and Ideas. Amanda Morello, Political Science. Molly Rose, Biology, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Sarah Williams, Sociology, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction, Honors Resident Advisor. Ariana Creech, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Anna Shinohara, Psychology. Yoshiki Kawase, Biochemistry, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction, Honors Award for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Jack Welsh, English. Abby Parker, German. Jackson Schwartz, Psychology. Timothy Marvin, Politics, Philosophy, and Economics. Cassidy Bright, Anthropology. Christina Patton, Anthropology. Sophie Wolf, Anthropology, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Eliza Alushi, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Anushka Dalvi, Biology, Health, and Society. Vidya Harish, Honors Resident Advisor. Silver Riddell, Neuroscience. Olivia Stack, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Kai Lin, Arts and Ideas and Social Theory and Practice. Maya Levy, Social Theory and Practice. Brett Ehrenberg, Biochemistry, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Ravi Bhatt, Computer Science. Sarah Morehouse, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Connor Zahler, History. Evelicia Chavez, History of Art. Chloe Collin, Spanish. Sienna Mizell, International Studies. Amy Ward, Neuroscience. Kelly Ding, Biochemistry. Maeve Lucas, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Bridget Cobb, Spanish. Parachi Shah, Psychology. Emily Eitzman, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Eric Chen, Psychology. Isabel Anderson, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Abigail Yakum, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Charles Bass, Neuroscience. Eva Vogel, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Christian Hausner, Biochemistry. Maylin Ward, Biology, Health, and Society, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Shinpei Shen, Data Science. Jiyu Zhou, Statistics. Jingyao Wang, Neuroscience. Reese Guo, Neuroscience. Bowen Wang, Neuroscience. Jiachen Li, Biology. Jiayi Zhang, Computer Science. Yaren Du, Psychology. Bilal Irfan, International Studies. Jonathan Wang, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Philip Bushev, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Ahmed Al-Rubai, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Caroline Peck, Earth and Environmental Sciences. Elizabeth Kuzmirs, Earth and Environmental Sciences. Jongsa Lee, Mathematics. Zhongming Zhang, Mathematics and Statistics. Madeline Gaitis, Biochemistry. Dana Marion, International Studies. Michaela Ward, Earth and Environmental Sciences. Nicholas Hislop, Ecology, Evolution, and Biodiversity, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Kai Bartol, Neuroscience. Maya Morse, History, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Adelaide Gordon, English. Micah Golan, History. Daria Lolos, Earth and Environmental Sciences. Joanna Livingston, Ecology, Evolution, and Biodiversity. Hannah Ebeli, Neuroscience. Yihang Zhang, Communication and Media. Chenning Wu, Mathematics. Shelby Taylor, Biology, Health, and Society. Nathan Chervin, Evolutionary Anthropology. Allison Densel, Anthropology. Matthew Mikalski, Anthropology. Maya Welch, Anthropology. Jillian Groth, English. Michelle Jennings, English. Margaret Leroux, English. Zainab Khan, English. Grace Metcalf, English. Anita Schubert, Psychology and Women and Gender Studies, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Hannah Zunker, Neuroscience. Maria Skavnicki, Psychology. Antonina Killian, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Isabella Palomba, Neuroscience. Kathy Wu, Psychology. Jacob Lentz, Psychology. Jen Shi, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Audrey Carter, English. Joy Huang, Neuroscience. Ginger Blodgett, Psychology. Avroken Cernilla, Microbiology. Madeline Yake, Political Science, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Jackson Overpeck, Economics, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Liam Pan, Biochemistry, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Justin Hyun, History. Ashley LaPlante, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Abigail Earhart, Philosophy and Psychology. Jaden Blazer, Economics. Luke Montney, Economics. Levi Kiefer, Economics. Alexander Yee, Economics. Naya Phillips, Economics. Robert Beckmeyer, Economics. Nathaniel White, Chemistry. Natalie Heitman, Biophysics. Victoria Murphy, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Rachel Dow, Microbiology. Hallie Fry, Microbiology. Leah Munson, Molecular, Cellular, and Developmental Biology. Elizabeth Wolfe, Creative Writing, Literature. Jinhao Liu, Economics and Political Science, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Stephen Dreist, Political Science. Andrew Dudowitz, Political Science. Elena Nathu, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Samin Hassan, Biopsychology, Cognition, and Neuroscience. Gabriela Cristiano, Political Science. Alexander Dingman, History and Political Science. Hannah Lupovich, Political Science. Eliana Kraut, Political Science. Jackson Joyce, Economics. Rohan Patil, Honors in Engaged Liberal Arts, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Sarah Oguntomilade, Honors in the Engaged Liberal Arts. Clyde Granzire, Creative Writing, Literature, Sophomore Honors Award with Distinction. Raphael Scribola, Philosophy, Politics, and Economics. Aditya Surya Kumar, honors in the Engaged Liberal Arts. Hao Pan, mathematics. Yukshan Luo, philosophy. Brennan Yagmore, linguistics. Christina Kwan, Asian studies and linguistics. Hannah Glass Chapman, Asian studies. Jiaqi Liu, mathematics. Paige Bunker, Sophomore Honors Award with distinction. Emma Collins, neuroscience. Ria Choker, psychology. Victoria Ortiz, neuroscience, Sophomore Honors Award. Tao Ding, biopsychology, cognition, and neuroscience. Kripa Srinivasan, Sophomore Honors Award. Danny Jandali, biopsychology, cognition, and neuroscience. Raymond Tran, Asian studies. Tejas Varma, communication and media. Fei Wu, computer science. Ouyang Du, computer science. Joshua Harper, German. Kevin Cow, mathematics and statistics. Hao Chen, mathematics. Hei Su, computer science and mathematics. Cara Texera, neuroscience. Xingyu Dai, communication and media. Remy Zhang, communication and media. Nayla Vasquez, gender and health. Minjae Guo, computer science. Qingyao Zhu, mathematics. Rumen Gao, biopsychology, cognition, and neuroscience. Wuzi Wang, communication and media. Obiare Uguo Uche, cognitive science. Tianyi Chen, physics. Eric Chi, computer science. Lodhao Jai, economics.
All of us from Honors would like to join all the family and friends in congratulating these amazing students. Many of you have heard me talking about one of my pet peeves, which is Gen Z bashing. I mean, the complaints by people my age that the younger generations are a bunch of self-absorbed, cuddled snowflakes. All the evidence, especially from the last couple of years, shows that that belief is false, to put it politely. Usually I use a slightly stronger word. So when I think of the challenges that you've already tackled, as we've heard in our speeches this afternoon, it's pretty clear. You make us proud, and you give us hope. Thank you. That hope is welcome right now. I want to acknowledge it personally. It's a cliche to point out that commencement actually means the beginning, but today I want to commit that cliche. That's because I'm basically in the same boat as you. It's the end of an important period and the beginning of something new. My 8 years as director of the honors program are ending with this academic year. I do still have a job. I'll return to being a full-time professor, and I even have a sabbatical. But these 8 years have been the best professional years of my life, all because of the students and my honors colleagues. So like many of you, I'll miss the recent past, and I'm wondering a bit about what I'll really want to do next when I grow up. So you and me, all together, let's go exploring. But wait just a second. We're almost done. You may have noticed, as we all processed in, the music was a bit unusual. We'll end in the same way. We'll love the victors and the yellow and the blue, but you'll hear those about 19 times in the next few days. So we want to go out with My Silver Lining by the First Aid Kit. For many of us in honors, it became a kind of an anthem for the pandemic years, reminding us to keep on keeping on. As we end, we ask that the guests stay in their seats while we recess from the stage, followed by the graduates in the same line. Graduates, once we've passed you, please follow my colleagues to the room where you robed, where you will collect your certificate or our other tokens of recognition. You can then return to the lobby just outside to meet with your family and friends. One more time, congratulations. Go Blue!
one shot.
I don't wanna wait anymore. I'm tired of looking for answers. Take me someplace where there's music and there's laughter. I don't know if I'm scared of dying, but I'm scared of living too fast, too slow. Regret, remorse, hold on. No, no, I've gotta go. There's no starting over, no new beginnings. Time raises on. Just gotta keep on keeping on. Gotta keep on going, looking straight out on the road. Can't worry about what's behind you, what's coming for you further up the road. Try not to hold on to what is gone. I try to do right what is wrong. I try to keep on keeping on. Yeah, I just keep on keeping on. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in a town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take the easy road. I've woken up in a hotel room. My worries as big as the moon. Having no idea what or where I am. Something good comes with the bad. The song's never just sad. There's hope, there's a silver line. Show me my silver line. Show me my silver line. I hear a voice calling out for me. These shackles I made in the town to be free. Be it for ease, be it for love. I won't take the easy road. I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, I won't take the easy road, the easy road, the easy road. Oh, show me my silver line. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver line. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver line. I try to keep on keeping on. Show me my silver line. I try to keep on keeping on.